Bardock became the first Super Saiyan, but instead of going headfirst into fighting with Frieza, he took a smarter approach, and now he's on Earth with Gine, Kakarot, Granolah, and Monaito. What lies ahead for him and his family? We'll cover all that and more in the second part of What If Bardock Was the First Super Saiyan. Monaito and Kami start to get along a lot more. Monaito is actually older than him and probably a lot better with magic. I mean, just look at the crazy wish his dragon granted for Granolah compared to what Kami's dragon could do. He wants to help Kami improve his Dragon Balls. He actually brought his own here with him. He didn't expect to encounter another Namekian with his own set of Dragon Balls too, but that's a good thing. They'll have Taranbo and Shenron together. Monaito goes to live on the lookout, and Kami wonders about those two other kids that are here. Granolah joins Monaito on the lookout too, so Kami at least gets to know him a little bit more. Earth is already very high-tech, but Dr. Brief makes some huge advances with the tech here. Thanks to the ships Bardock, Gine, and Kakarot have, he's able to advance his products even further, and on top of that, thanks to the Scouter, he's able to make it into some sort of communication device. It becomes a huge hit. Everyone loves their Capsule Corp glasses. Earth is now even more advanced and more connected than before, and Dr. Brief wants to show his thanks to Bardock. He becomes the head of security at Capsule Corp just so he can earn a living. And he's obviously really good at it too. He's the strongest person on Earth right now, and he is a professional mercenary essentially. But on top of that, when Dr. Brief first met Bardock, he had him sign a contract. Now, the technology wasn't actually Bardock's, but just for bringing it here, Dr. Brief cuts him in on a small percentage of the earnings. Thankfully, there shouldn't be any copyright issues with Space Emperors. If Frieza has an issue with it, well, he can come here and deal with it himself. Otherwise, he considers these Bardocks, so he gets some money from this too. The Saiyans are businessmen in a way, so Bardock is really glad to hear this and also negotiates with him. And with how much money Dr. Brief makes from this, even with just a small percentage, Bardock gets a huge amount of Zenny paid to him, on top of the job that he has at Capsule Corp, which pays pretty well too. So, not long into his time on Earth, Bardock becomes a millionaire, and Gine also has her own venture, deciding to open her own butcher shop with Bardock investing. This way they could blend into society a bit easier, and it gives them more things to do during the day. Of course, Bardock loves training, and he has great facilities at Capsule Corp. He even gets to use gravity training because he mentions the gravity difference to Dr. Brief, and he decides to rectify that. It is really weird for Bardock and Gine because even though their whole planet was just destroyed, their quality of life has jumped significantly. They've never been rich before. They were low-class Saiyans after all. They were basically the bottom of the barrel. This is kind of weird. But on top of that, there is another addition to their life. With Earth being as peaceful as it is, the two of them also end up having another kid, about a year after arriving. This time, it's a daughter, and you already know who it's going to be if you're familiar with my channel. And if not, well, whenever I have a scenario with Bardock and Gine and they end up having another kid, I usually go with the daughter and always stick with the same design and name because I included her once a while ago and people seem to like her. Plus, I have a bunch of art of her already, so I'm going to bring her back. Her name is Runa, and she hasn't shown up in a scenario of mine in a while, so I needed to bring her back somehow. As time marches on, Kakarot eventually gets enrolled in schooling to blend in, at the request of Dr. Brief, and he becomes friends with Bulma. Same for Granolah too. It is kind of weird. First of all, they can't really keep up with Bulma's studies because of how smart she is, but Bulma apparently did go to a normal school in West City, so she and Granolah would probably be in the same school, albeit with Granolah being a few grades higher. Kakarot, on the other hand, would be too far behind in grades to be in proximity, but he's in the same school system. Thankfully, unlike Granolah, he hasn't missed a ton of schooling because he arrived here at age 3. Kakarot actually gets a proper education. I feel like Granolah would do decently in school. He is a pretty resourceful guy. I mean, he was a professional mercenary after all, and he made his own way without any help from anybody. I'm not sure how that would apply to his academics, but I think he'd do well enough. As for Kakarot, it's really weird to say because Goku had such a different upbringing, not just in how he was schooled, but just everything in general. But he has a lot of good influences and a lot of money around him too. Kakarot ends up shocking everybody. He is a really good student. He's not as smart as Bulma, but he's surprisingly a really smart kid. But naturally, him being a Saiyan, he's definitely rowdier than Goku. But with the influence of Earth, he's not like a normal Saiyan. He could at least channel a lot of this energy into sports, and outside of school, he does a lot of training. Granolah, on the other hand, eventually grows to have a bond with the group. Bulma becomes a close friend to both of them, and as for Kakarot, the two of them actually become pretty brotherly. At first, it was such a strange situation, but even with the feelings that Granolah harbored towards the Saiyans and Frieza, he's warmed up to Bardock's family, and Kakarot didn't do anything wrong after all. The two actually become pretty close. Even with Kakarot being a great student, though, he doesn't really like school. He wants to fight more. And Bardock and Gine don't like school either. They'd rather just have him grow up like a normal Saiyan, but they need to pretend to be Earthlings, and maybe this won't be the worst thing for him. Bardock did want his sons to thrive, and in a way, he is thriving, just by Earth standards. He's coming to see that this planet is a lot better than planet Vegeta, so maybe those are better standards. Bardock also barely has to work, and he has a ton of money. Combine that with Kakarot having free time out of school, of course Bardock ends up training him, as well as Granolah. Granolah has the same goal as them too. He wants Frieza dead. The Heaters were already dealt with, but they're responsible for everyone on his planet being wiped out, including his mother. They actually directly killed her, so that makes it even more personal. With them and the Saiyans gone, Frieza's the only one left, as well as his entire army, of course. And Bardock says they'll get that revenge soon enough. But he wonders where Raditz is. He expected him to come here eventually. They have no way to contact him now because they destroyed their original scouters as a precaution. The only one that exists now is the one that Dr. Brief has, but he completely disabled and dismantled it in order to make his new prototype devices. Even if they did have a scouter, it would be way too risky to contact Raditz. Plus, as far as they know, he's with the prince as well as some other guy. Bardock wonders if they're all still alive. Hopefully Raditz is, but what about the other two? Kakarot doesn't start training as a martial artist like usual. He never ends up meeting Grandpa Gohan, nor does he go to Kame House. As a Saiyan child who trains, and with Capsule Corp tech at his disposal, plus Dr. Brief wanted him to study, he utilizes that tech as much as possible, including the gravity chamber that they now have. Kakarot's fighting style is weird. He's not as technical as Goku is, but after a few years on Earth, he is a lot physically stronger than Goku was at this point. Granolah is not as focused on fighting as the others, but he does want to take revenge on Frieza, so he definitely would be keeping up at the very least. Also, Granolah is a little bit older than Bulma, so by the time Dragon Ball would normally start, Granolah would be at least 18. So, he's done with school, and he needs a career, and a goal. He could go to college, and he'd probably be encouraged to do so by the people around him. Maybe he could find something with that. Kami also gets to know everyone more during this time too, mainly because of Monaito. He knows Granolah very well, but he starts to see Kakarot and then eventually Ruda more. Bardock is far stronger than everyone, but Kami sees Kakarot's strength and it's pretty impressive, though he's very unrefined. He and Granolah should train on the Lookout and eventually Ruda too. This is a thanks to Monaito and a showing of their alliance. Bardock thanks Kami as well. Even though he's offered the ability to train on the Lookout, Bardock declines. He likes training on his own and doing his own thing, but he appreciates the gesture. And after all these years pass, Bardock is starting to realize that he really likes life here on Earth. He's adjusting really quick, and sure, a lot of the things are still weird. Society here in general is completely different. Of course, there's violence, there's war, there's still crazy things like that, but compared to Planet Vegeta, where as a child you're thrown into war, this is a lot better than his own history. He only wishes his other comrades were here to witness it, but at least he has his family. And soon enough, Bardock wants his kids to go Super Saiyan. He wonders if it'll be any easier for Ruda because she was conceived after he became a Super Saiyan, so maybe there's something there. But either way, he wants both of them to grow strong. And Gine adjusts to life on Earth as well as Bardock does. She's fine with not fighting either. Honestly, she doesn't even care at this point. She was kicked off of Bardock's team for not being a great warrior anyways. And she likes this new life a lot better. Of course, by Earth standards, she is still one of the strongest people on the planet at the moment. Bardock, Granolah, and Kakarot are definitely above her at this point, but besides those three, I'd say she's the strongest on Earth, at least until Ruda grows a lot stronger. Bulma eventually decides she wants to search for the Dragon Balls, so she takes her friends along. Kakarot, Ruda, and Granolah all join. They come across some pretty interesting people, like some guy named Gohan, intrigued to see two kids with monkey tails, and a man with one red eye. But he's seen crazier things on Earth, so he doesn't even question it. They meet Yamcha, they meet Ox King, they meet Roshi, and when Roshi destroys Fry Pan Mountain, Kakarot very easily copies the Kamehameha. So he still learns it here, just from seeing it once. Roshi is stunned, and even more stunned to hear that they're training under Kami. It's incredible. But of course, they encounter the Pilaf gang too, and they're very easily stopped. Thankfully, with Bulma still meeting Yamcha, she decides she's not going to wish for the perfect boyfriend, and instead, she just wishes for infinite strawberries or whatever else she wanted to wish for. Had she made the other wish, well, Vegeta probably would have been brought here way earlier than normal, but I guess that's saved for later. Even though Kakarot has met Roshi, he never does go to Kame House. Kami is his master, and Kakarot eventually ditches his Saiyan armor and decides to wear a gi. It kind of surprises Bardock, but he's glad that Kakarot's evolving like that. But he's also realizing that he probably needs to train his son more. He hasn't been a good enough master, and more importantly, he thinks Kakarot's finally ready for some more intense Saiyan training. Ruda watches along, and she starts training with Kami herself, but she does watch her brother and father train from time to time. As a martial artist, Kakarot's the greatest in the family, by far. And Bardock is really impressed to see this, but his power is nowhere near his. So, Bardock then shows them Super Saiyan. They've seen this a bunch of times, and he'll whip them into shape until they're able to do this. This is what they'll use to defeat Frieza, the one who killed all the Saiyans, and the one who's probably still out to get them. Thankfully, he doesn't even know they're alive. Hopefully Raditz made it out fine though. Monaito notices something strange from the Lookout one day. There's a group going around, an army, and they locate one of the Dragon Balls. Actually, this is one of Monaito's Dragon Balls. The Red Ribbon Army actually found one of his. They're a little confused because the Dragon Balls are really small, but it is what they were tracking. But the location of the Dragon Ball is actually Monaito's house on the surface. Even though he does live on the Lookout, they did have a temporary residence there, so of course he's going to go down to defend it. The army is weirded out to see an alien-looking guy here, but what's even crazier is that Monaito is a lot stronger than them. You know what's really funny? Monaito's power level was 213 in the Granolah arc. That would also make him stronger than pretty much anyone on Earth besides his own friends. He actually prevents the Red Ribbon Army from getting his Dragon Ball, but then someone else joins in. Granolah's there. He decides he's going to take this army down. After going through an army invasion on his own planet, he's not going to let this planet suffer the same fate. So, Granolah goes out to destroy the entire Red Ribbon Army, and he leaves no trace of anyone. The entire base is wiped out. It is really easy for him to do, and with his great eyesight, he makes sure nothing's left, even getting Dr. Gero in the process. Kakarot and Ruda even join in too, and Bardock hears of this, so he goes along, not joining in on the fight, but just watching to see what his kids are capable of. You know, he doesn't want them tearing this planet up or anything, but the Red Ribbon Army was probably going to do that too, so he's fine with this. Plus, this is the most Saiyan-like thing that they're ever going to get to do here, and it's not like it's the wrong thing to do either, so of course he wants them to take the opportunity. And he admires their work. It truly makes him proud to be a father. Now, he's glad they're not growing up like normal Saiyans, but if these kids were the average Saiyans that were invading planets, they'd be great at it. Parallel to this, Goku, or Kakarot in this case, never ends up going to Kame House. So the primary student there, and basically the star student, is Krillin. He trains under Roshi alone, and he's probably not going to grow as strong without a great training partner like Goku, but he does really well. He almost becomes a champion of the World Tournament, making it to the final round where he faces Jackie Chun, who ends up winning against him. This is so Krillin knows that there's always stronger people out there. He was hoping that one of those other people would join this tournament. Those two kids with monkey tails seemed really powerful, and same for that green-haired guy. They were really good warriors, but they're not part of the tournaments. He wonders why, and while this is going on, the Pilaf gang is still alive. They were easily defeated but not wiped out, and they want revenge. They want it as soon as possible. So they search for King Piccolo, looking to free him in order to sick him on that crew that defeated them. Piccolo's not going to be nearly strong enough to fight them, but of course, they're oblivious. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What'd you guys think about this part? What's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.